We are learning Perek Daled, Mishna Aleph. This is the first Mishnah in the fourth Perek. And this Mishnah is going to outline the parameters of when you can daven, when the tefillot during the day, what are the time you're up, you can only daven up to, for Shachrit, Mincha, Ma'ariv, and lastly Musaf. In order to really understand this Mishnah, there are two premises you need to know. One is the concept of the halachic hour, that the Jewish halachic day does not work like a regular day. Regular day starts at 12 a.m., ends at 12 a.m. or 11:59. The halachic day begins and ends differently, and an hour is not necessarily 60 minutes. The second premise is that the tefillot were established corresponding to the different sacrifices that were brought in the Beit HaMikdash, and that's what we're going to talk about. So just as a point of introduction, what is it that this means, that the halachic day, Sha'ot Zmaniot? So if you look over here, we'll make a little flow chart. The halachic day is bracketed or begin by sunrise and sunset. It begins with sunrise. In Hebrew, this is called Neitz Hachama, and it ends with sunset, which is called Shkiat Hachama. So, again, the day, meaning daytime, starts with sunrise, and with sun, that's pretty logical. But then what we do is a little more complicated. We divide the day into 12 chalakim, 12 parts, and each of these chalakim is called a sha'ot zmaniot, or one halachic hour, which corresponds to 1/12 of this halachic day. So, for example, the classic perfect day is a day that sunrise is at 6 a.m., and sunset is at 6 p.m., and then, so that's 6 a.m., 6 p.m., there are 12 hours in this day, 12 hours, so 12 divided by 12 equals 1. So every halachic hour actually corresponds to a 60-minute hour, and that is a perfect halachic day. That's the easiest way to think about it. But what happens if something's imperfect, which almost every day is, and just typically you should know that a 6 to 6 day, what happens in the spring or the fall when daytime and nighttime are equal, because if there's 12 hours in the day, there's going to be 12 hours at night. So what about imperfect day? So let's just take, for example, a day in the summer where you have a longer day than night. So let's say it starts at 5 a.m. That's usually what happens in the summertime. Sunrise is around 5, and sunset is around 8 p.m. So we've added to our perfect day, a 6 to 6 day, we've added 3 hours. So, in essence, 3 times 60 is, 60 minutes. We've added, 3 hours. 60 minutes is 180 minutes. So, if you do 180 is 180 minutes, and then divide that by 12, it'll give you, the 12 chalakim, it'll give you 15. So, basically, we've added to every hour plus 15, we've added to every hour 15 minutes, which means every halachic hour, every Sha'ot Zmaniot now, on the 5 to 8 day, or the summer day, is an hour and 15 minutes. So how does this play out in real life, in halacha? So you'll see that, we'll just give an example. Let's say this is the Mishnah you might have learned. This is the first Perek, the second Mishnah. When do you say Kriyat Shema, or what they call colloquially Sof Zman Kriyat Shema? So there's a machloket. The first opinion is until Neitz Hachama. The second opinion, Rabbi Yeshua, says until 3 hours into the day. So what does that mean? So 3 hours into the day. So just parenthetically, you should know when it says 3 hours into the day actually means the end of the third hour. So in a perfect 6 to 6 day, where Sha'ot Zmaniot are an hour, this is easy. Sunrise is 6 o'clock. 3 hours later is going to be 9 o'clock. So you have to say Kriyat Shema by 9 a.m. That's the end of the time to say Kriyat Shema. But what about in our crazy day, or the summer day, where Sha'ot Zmaniot are an hour and a half? So now remember, not only are you adding to the hour, you're also bringing back the start of the day. So 5 o'clock plus 1 hour and 15 minutes is going to be 6:15. That's the end of the first hour. Then the second hour is going to be 7:30. And then the third hour, the end of the third hour is going to be 8:45. So it's kind of, counterintuitive. But even though we've added to the time of a halachic hour, 15 minutes, because we brought it back a full hour. That's why Sof Zman Kriyat Shema is going to be actually earlier in a day when the halachic hours are longer. That's something you just know. So what about our Mishnah? Just going forward, going to our Mishnah. So, one second, going to our Mishnah. So our Mishnah has a machloket about when is the latest time you're allowed to daven Shachrit. So it's a machloket. And the first opinion is, we'll highlight this in green, Tfilat Shachar ad Chatzot, which means you have until half the day. So, half the day, meaning until the 6th hour. And Rabbi Yehuda argues and says, no, you have until 4 hours into the day, or the end of the 4th hour. So, what does that mean, this machloket? What is this machloket? How does it play itself out? So let's just go back to our 2 days, the spring and fall day. So here we go. Let's just get rid of this thing here. So here we go. For example, so if sunrise is 6 a.m. and sunset 6 p.m., the perfect day. So Sof Zman Kriyat Shema, we said, was 9 a.m. What about Sof Zman Tefillah? So according to the Tanakama, the first opinion who said you have Chatzot, he says you have until 12 p.m. because that's half the day. 6 hours up plus 6 a.m. is 6 p.m. But what about the other opinion that said 4 hours? So 4 plus 6 is going to be 10. So he says you have until 10 a.m. to daven, which is pretty good because you have an hour. Sof Zman Kriyat Shema is 9 o'clock. Sof Zman Tefillah is going to be, Sof Zman Tefillah, the end of the time we could say daven is going to be 10 o'clock. And what about on the summer day where sunrise is 5 a.m. and sunset is 8 p.m. and we've added an hour and 15 minutes to every halachic hour. So here's where things are interesting. So Chatzot is going to be 1:30. Because half the day in a day that's really going to be longer than 12 hours, it's actually 15 hours. So half of 15 is going to be 1:30. But what about Rabbi Yehuda's opinion of 4 hours into the day? So he says Sof Zman Tefillah is going to be 10 a.m., which is the same as the Sof Zman Tefillah on a perfect 6 to 6 day. Because even though we've added 15 minutes to halachic day, by bringing it back an hour, we finally caught up, and this is where we caught up, but again, we're going to be pushing itself back later on. So this is what you should realize, that this is the first premise of understanding how Shod Zmani work. The second premise of our Mishnah is, why do we daven at these times? Why are we davening at these times? So this is corresponding to another premise of what we mentioned earlier, that Tefillah Kineged Korbanot Tiknu, that the structured prayer corresponds to the sacrifices offered in the Beit HaMikdash. What are these tefillot what were the different korbanot in the Beit HaMikdash? So there were 3 sacrifices that were offered daily in the Beit HaMikdash, and a 4th were offered on the holidays, when this was called the Korban Musaf. I forgot to list it later on. But what were the 3 daily korbanot brought every day? The first one is the Korban Tamid. Tamid means perpetual, or every day, or consistent. So that was the everyday offering. No matter what happened, you always had to bring the Korban Tamid first, and that corresponds to the Tefillah of Shacharit. The second prayer of the day was the Korban Mincha, which is what we call it, the Mincha. We don't call Mincha, Tfilat Saharayim. We call it Tfilat Mincha because it corresponds to the Korban Mincha. And the last of the sacrifices, which isn't really a sacrifice even, was the Hakrava Bein Arbaim, which was brought at the evening, which was basically we burned all the things that have to be burned, would burn all night in the Beit HaMikdash, and that happened in the evening. So these elements of the 3 korbanot correspond to the 3 tefillot, and in fact the machloket, the rabbis explain in the Talmud, the machloket about when we daven is really based on when were these sacrifices brought in the Beit HaMikdash. So again, me'ema taikor, this is the wrong one, 1 second, sorry, this is not the right one. Here we go. When do you daven Shachrit? Tfilat Shachar ad Chatzot. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad Arba Sha'ot. So the rabbis explain this machloket is based on when was the Korban Tamid offered until. When was the offering brought? The Tanakama says until Chatzot. That's when it was brought. And Rabbi Yehuda says no, you were allowed to bring the Korban Tamid until Arba Sha'ot. So what's the next? The next prayer is Tfilat Mincha. And the Tanna Kama, again, you have a machloket. Tanna Kama says you could bring it until the Erev, until nighttime. So you'd have from, assumption being you have from the end of Shacharit and a little longer. We'll call this Mincha Gedola. Mincha Gedola is 30 minutes after Chatzot, so 12:30 in the perfect 6 to 6 day. And then you'd be able to offer from the whole Mincha Gedola, which was from 12:30 until all the way till Shkia, which was at 6 o'clock. So this is called Mincha Gedola because it's the big Mincha. So obviously if there's a Mincha Gedola, there's going to be a Mincha Ketana, a small Mincha. And this is what Rabbi Yehuda is going to talk about. Rabbi Yehuda says you're only allowed to bring the Daven Mincha until Plag Mincha. Rabbi Yehuda argues and says you don't have until the night. You actually have until Plag Mincha. So Plag means half. So you only have until half of Mincha. What does half of Mincha mean? So Rabbi Yehuda is working with the other Mincha, Mincha Ketana. So Mincha Ketana is 9.5 hours into the day. So in 9.5 hours until 12 leaves you over 2.5 hours. So 2.5 hours divided in half, equals 1.25. So he said you only have until Plaga Mincha, which is 1.25 hours after 9.5, which basically means you only have until 4:45 in a perfect day. So again, if 9.5 hours into the day would be 3:30, and half of 3:30 to 12 would be till 6 p.m., not 12 p.m., till 6 p.m. would be 4:45. So that's the machloket between the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Yehuda. When do you daven until? And then the last opinion, there's no machloket. The second to last tefillah, which is Ma'ariv, tefillah ha'erev, ein la keva, has no set time. And the reason for this was because the korban, or hakrava bein arbaim, was brought all night. So that's why there's no limit to when you could do it. I mean, obviously it's before the morning, because in the morning already it's tefillah shachrit. And the last of the tefillah, which is the extra tefillah musaf, the additional prayer that's brought on holidays, Chol HaMoed, Rosh Chodesh, anytime there's an extra korban brought in the Beit HaMikdash, is Kol Hayom, is the opinion of the Tanna Kama, which he would say basically you can do it the whole time. You could do Shachrit and Mincha. You could do it from Neitach Chama all the way till Shkiat Chama. And Rabbi Yehuda says no, you only have until 7 hours into the day. And again, this machloket is similar to the machlokim before about when were the korbanot brought. So just to summarize, there's a little chart here. And this is just a chart to understand the machlokim. But there's on 3 of the tefillot, there's a dispute between Rabbi Yehuda and the Tanna Kama, and then on the last one, and the tefillat Ma'ariv, there's no machloket. So again, we can just plug in the numbers. Even on a 6 to 6 perfect day, the Tanna Kama said a tefillah shachar is ad chatzot, which would be 12 p.m., and arba sha'ot would be 10 a.m., Tefillat Mincha would be Ada Erev, which would be until, 5:59 or 6 p.m. Plag HaMincha, we already explained, was half of Mincha Ketana, which would be 4:45. Tefillat Erev Ein La Keva would be basically you have from 6 p.m. all the way to 6 a.m., because that's when you could daven Ma'ariv, the whole nighttime. And Musaf would be Kol Hayom. So Kol Hayom would be, again, this is the longest, this is the opposite of Tefillat Ma'ariv, would be 6 to 6. The whole day you could do it. And the Rabbi Yehuda argues and says Musaf is only into the 7th hour of the day, which is 1 p.m. So this is the machloket of first Mishnah and the fourth Perek, describing the different times you have the limit to daven. Okay, thank you very much. See you next time.